Well, good morning, beautiful people. How you doing? Hey! Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm just above and beyond myself this morning. So happy to start my week out with each of you. Welcome to Bathrobe Moments. Like I said, it's Monday edition, post Mother's Day. How was your Mother's Day? Ringing the bell. Facebook was just packed with all kinds of virtual Mother's Day greetings and Mother's Day togetherness. It was wonderful. I took a lot from it yesterday, and thank you all for sharing your moms with me. I appreciated it. I planned on going down to Michigan myself to put some flowers and visit both of my moms, my adoptive and my biological, but decided to do it in a couple of weeks because both of their birthdays, I could do them at the same time. So we're going to do that. Help me welcome to the show, won't you? My sidekick, my best gal, Miss Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. We're sipping on some salted caramel or caramel, depending on what part of the country you're from. And, interestingly enough, while we're building the audience, I have Tucker Bearden here, by the way, today. Just recently. Well, I'll wait. I'm going to save that news till we get them on the screen. But you know how, my grandmother used to always say, every time like some celebrity would die, now, they die in threes. She'd say that. You ever heard that? That celebrities die in threes? And, it was Friday. Was it Friday? I think it was Friday or Saturday. Friday. I get confused because I had two specials on Saturday. I think it was Saturday morning. Saturday morning, we woke up and to the news that little Richard, Tutti Frutti, had died. And then yesterday, Betty Wright, not Betty White. I'm not trying to start one of those internet rumors like they used to do about, remember way back in the day when they said Luther was dead, Luther Vandross, before he really did die. No, Betty Wright. She was a R&B singer, really good. Tonight is the night. Remember that? Color Me Bad stole her shit. They sampled her song for that I'm Gonna Sex You Up song. That was Betty Wright's beat. Right. So, no pun intended. Betty Wright, rest in peace. So we had Little Richard on Saturday, I believe, Betty Wright yesterday, and this morning, Jerry Stiller, who was 92 years old, passed away. Condolences to all of their families, and may they all rest in peace. Jerry Stiller, remember, he was in that. His wife is. It was a comedy duo, Stiller and Mirror or something like that. She's tall, he was short. Yeah, and so apparently, Grandma knew something, right? So that's the news. Today, what I thought we would do, everybody, is have a little conversation. Tucker was here not too long ago, but he's a great guy to have when you just want to sit around and shoot the, you know what, starts with an S, ends with a T. And I thought we could talk about, I've taken the liberty of writing down some of the not so known about facts, or well, retract that, news. Okay, because that doesn't mean just because we hear it and read it in the news that it's a fact. But some of the things that are different that I thought we could talk about so that we don't sit on all that doom and gloom and fear based anything. So we're going to get Tucker in here and get the day started. Tucker Bearden, pick up a white paging phone. Tucker Bearden, pick up a white paging phone. How are you?
Howdy. I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me on the show, brother.
Where are you? You're welcome. Where are you? What part of the country?
I'm currently in Missouri.
You had to think about it.
I did because Arkansas and Missouri are so close to one another, and it's the only state I've ever seen where they are almost identical.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that in Missouri it gives you the illusion that you're in the woods, you're really in the city. But in Arkansas, if you're really in the woods.
So tell us, have you been? So who's in Missouri?
That would be Sarah Alexander.
Who is that?
She is my new fiance. As
opposed to your old fiance, who was your old one? You didn't have one.
Touche.
So you're getting congratulations. I'm just messing with you.
Thank you.
Did you ever think?
No, not in a million years.
I know. I was who in the hell? Right. Okay.
I mean, come on.
So have you set a date? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Marriage is a wonderful thing. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, I always ran away from relationships. The fact that I'm with somebody is astonishing.
So have you guys set a date yet?
No, we haven't, and that's
kind of hard with what's going on.
Yeah, it's on purpose. We want to do that right. You know, like that part we want to do it. We go big, go and do it right. The with this virus though, you can't really put on a big show.
Okay. Good morning to Lori Whitney, Michelle Marie. How are you? And Mandy Kikta. How are you? A lot of people coming in. That's what we love. Now, let me just do a recap for those of you who just came aboard. We had a really good time. We had two specials. Bathrobe Moments sponsored two specials this weekend that had something to do with people other than me. I was here. I was kind of running the back end of everything, behind the curtains, if you will. But two of my coaching clients were out front and personal Saturday with you guys. Mandy Kikta, who's here this morning. God bless you, Mandy. Mandy, another shout out to her. I'll never get tired of talking about this. Mandy, and I love this because it's important that we do things, which is what we're going to talk about today. It's important that we do things to keep ourselves and our mindsets in alignment with everything that's positive, good, things that allow you to just breathe and exhale, not all cooped up and scared and looking over your shoulder and living a life because of all the stuff that's happening, until I over, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to spend a minute worrying about something that I don't have control over. So Mandy took charge of her life and doing something positive to pay it forward by giving away all but $200 of her $1,200 stimulus check. So she gave away every day last week. She gave away $100 gift cards. And then Saturday was the big reveal where she gave away a whopping $500 prize to people who were nominated by other people. One of the people we know, Christopher Kaysen. His name was drawn. He was nominated by Nancy and Scott Kiesling. Yeah. So that's Christopher won $100. He came on the show, on the special where people talked about what they were going to do with it, what it meant for them. And and then they said a little bit about the people that they found out had nominated them. So that was really great. And as you know, Christopher shares the blessing of Asperger's with you, and you guys have hooked up and talked. So yeah, Christopher, congratulations to all the people, and really congratulations to you, Mandy Kikta, for seeing a way to keep things moving forward and paying it forward even in these trying times. Awesome job. And then Dr. Janice Hooker Fortman had a special where it was about the topic was how to keep your mom safe during the COVID-19 Mother's Day. And it was great because she had another mother-son duo and she had her own son on there. And they all talked about how to celebrate in alternative ways that were safe to keep mom safe. Now, remember, there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of propaganda, a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of
Yeah.
doomsday theories, enough that if we listened to everything and try to process everything we heard about this thing that we're living with right now, we'd never get out of bed. So it's important, number one, it's important to really monitor and really keep an eye on how much of that you're allowing in. I know here in our home, Brian and I, my husband's a therapist, so we get a lot of ideas from not just himself but his peers. But we rotate it. He'll watch just the first 20 minutes of the 10 o'clock news because it's the end of the day. So you get a recap of everything that's happened. And everything good is that the lead story is usually done by the first commercial break, which is at 20 minutes after. So one night he'll watch it. The next night I'll watch it if I haven't fallen asleep at 8:30 like I usually do. Or I'll DVR it. And then we talk about it. And that's just it. We talk about it. We get off of it. We don't sit on it. We keep it moving. Right. Mm-hmm. So some of the latest things that I found this morning in the news about COVID-19, and then we're going to talk about how you're dealing with it, Tucker, and what's it been like. Well, you're in the perfect spot if you're with your fiance to be sheltering in place. First of all, let me ask you: were you there already when you popped the question?
Yeah.
So
I would never do that from afar.
Okay, so were you thinking about this before COVID, or did COVID have something to do with your decision to pop the question?
It had something to do with the escalation, but it did not have something to do with I mean, like the timing wouldn't, it preferably would have been other circumstances. And
do you think you would have popped the question if we weren't in a dealing with COVID-19 and quarantine and all that? What I'm getting at is, does it make this? Did you think this pandemic made you think, you know what, life is just too short? I got somebody great here. I'm not going to let her go. You know what I'm saying? Talk about that.
So that's exactly what happened. Honestly, is just like, I mean, we came, like, everybody's calling us crazy. Everybody's like, y'all haven't known each other that long. I mean,
see, don't you hate that?
I do. And
I knew we were going to talk about that, Tucker, because I told Brian the very first day I met him I was going to marry him. And he's a therapist, so he was looking at me like, you a crazy black man. But here we are. So I feel you. So go ahead.
Yeah, and really, like the thing is like we realize, like, hey man, life is short, and we empower each other, we make each other better people, we challenge each other, and we both have a lot of the same goals and dreams. And I mean, when we're around each other, we make each other happy. So like it just made sense. Why not? Like you said, life is short. Why should I wait 5 years knowing somebody to do that? I mean, it's like, especially with this virus, people should understand you can be gone tomorrow at any moment. And if you're going to do something that matters in your life, that's going to have an impact on not only yourself, but a positive impact on the world, if you do move forward, I feel it would be kind of selfish not to just go ahead and act on that and do what you know is the right thing.
Mm-hmm. You know what I've seen? I'm anxious to get your angle on this, since you're in the same business, and we've known each other pretty much from the starting gate of both of our careers. It wasn't that long after I started. Really? Oh yeah, I met you my first year.
Really?
Yeah, I hadn't even been doing this a year.
I thought you'd been doing it a minute.
No, I met you in my first year. I think it was the third quarter of my first year. Dang. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that I thought you'd been speaking for years.
No. August of 2016 was my very first keynote. And here we are, almost 950 keynotes later. Wow. I know, isn't that crazy? And God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. Yes, he is. So listen, now be honest, because I've been watching, I don't really do much on social media outside of posting. I even stopped doing memes for the moment. I don't really open up and go live unless it's the show. Very, very seldom do I do that anymore. But I find myself really doing a lot of what I call thread surfing, where I'll just pop through, and who I'm surfing around. I'm surfing around people in our industry who were bigger than life. And it's very interesting to me how many of them are handling this. Of course, you have a lot of people who are like, great chance to make some great money. If I get to, everybody's trying to get to the, here, let's have I'm doing a symposium, or I'm doing a panel, or I'm doing a virtual event on how to keep your team motivated through COVID-19, how to, you know what I'm saying, all the how-to during COVID-19 things to make a buck, because we all still have to live. I get that. But what I'm finding very interesting, and I'd like to see how you feel about this, is how they really, if they're living, how do you feel? What do you see that you could tell? I'm trying not to get myself in hot water here. Because you know me, I don't have a filter. I'll say any damn thing. I don't care. They ain't paying my bills. They're not paying my bills. You know how I feel, Tucker. But I mean, there are a lot of people who do what we do. It's like this. This is what I'm trying to say. How do you feel? Have you seen any people that you say, boy, they sure aren't practicing what they used to preach?
I'm sorry. Could you reframe the question?
Rephrase it for you?
Yeah, rephrase it.
I'll frame it like this.
Reframe. That was it.
There it is. There's a lot of people. There are people who, you know, when things are normal, it's all about the positive mindset and this and the other. And you know good and doggone well, everybody can't be a motivational speaker. If you go to LinkedIn and you pull that in, you get like 8,000 of them. But everybody, it's just like trainers, personal trainers. Somebody has been in the gym, they'll throw that up as their shingle. I'm a personal trainer, you know, and even some people will go and say, I'm a certified this or certified that, but they really don't have that connection with whatever it is that is greater than us. You know what I'm talking about, that really lets you and takes you and carries you through everything. Through everything, that thing that is higher than us. But I have seen some people that are talking so many different theories. It's like, wait a minute, how do you have faith in one thing first? And you keep changing every time the media changes. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, how do you feel? Do you think this? Here's the reframe. Do you feel that this is a real opportunity for people who are, because this is how I look at what we do. I don't care who you are. You don't have to be world renowned. You don't have to be. You don't have to be a Les Brown. You don't have to be a Tony Robbins to be a person who can change and shape the lives of others. But those of us who are successful with that have asked what is greater than us to grant us access into the hearts and minds of other human beings. And that's not something anybody can take lightly. Nobody. So to me, it's interesting because I detect, fear when I can smell it. In the air, I can see you've been rolling around with fear. You know, it just like the truth has a ring to it. Fear has a stench to it. You may quote me. It's the truth. And so I've seen it in people because they're talking, they're opening up the mics, they're live, and they're putting on a happy face, trying to show us that they're wearing big boy and big girl panties. But the next day, or they go dark for a long time. I'm just saying, how are you dealing with it? And here's a great question for you. How much of your own content have you found yourself having to reach to or reach for during this experience known as the global pandemic?
Well, so my answer is probably not going to be what you're generally expecting. I have thrived during this. I mean, I haven't been selling so many Kirby's. But at the same time, I thankfully am in a position where financially I'm not gonna sink. My ship's not gonna go under. Especially
now, I'm ringing the bell on that. Because do you remember when we first met? You put your foot up in front of the camera and showed me the holes in the bottom of your shoes. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Is God good or is God good?
Good. What is it? Good all the time? Or
all the time.
Yeah. That. So most definitely.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you know how profound that was just now, Tucker? When there are people. I saw a girl on CNN the other day who was vice president of a textile company, and she is now getting evicted from her tower in the sky in Upper Manhattan. Wow. She had a penthouse apartment, but she's being evicted. She got to go live with a family member.
That's crazy.
You see what I'm saying? She was vice president of a company. This is how things have flipped for people. But look at you.
Well, my thing is it like I'm for those of y'all who actually follow me and people who have known me for a while, y'all know that I am a writer at heart. Like I love to speak from stage, and that is my passion and my gift is to speak from stage. But when I really sit down and write, I'm very good at I'm a wordsmith, so I can craft words in a way that paint a really good picture for people. And this has been an opportunity to work on my book and ebooks and things of that nature, and get my stuff, because my book has been needing to come out for a long time.
Sure has.
And I came up with this saying, and that is, the only people that don't finish books are perfectionists. I'm sure a lot of you can feel me on that, because every time you think you're done, you go, oh, I got to fix this. And it never seems to stop. So I mean, honestly, I've been thriving. I've been taking the opportunity to really to enjoy the little things. It hasn't been so much of a vacation as it has been a reminder, you know.
Good one.
You know, we oftentimes in life we find ourselves in the rat race, so to speak, and you find yourself in that process of chasing the dollar, and then it's like, it's almost like that's what you worship is the entire day. Everything is devoted to making the money, and then whenever you come home to the family, you've put so much into making money that you fail to put anything into the family. And at that point, are you really living, or are you surviving? Are you thriving, or are you surviving? And this has been an opportunity for me to figure out how to make more residual income from home, but more importantly is just refine projects that needed my attention, but I had enough excuses not to do it until those excuses were taken away.
Exactly. Now let me jump on there and say something here, you guys. Think about this. All of you, think about this. Everybody's been talking about how we have time to do some of the things that we just, for whatever reason, never had time for before. Right? Now, for instance, every weekend I have a different project. Last weekend it was cleaning out the pantry and redoing the shelves, putting new contact paper on the shelves and whatnot. This weekend I cleaned the oven. I got junk drawer universe next weekend in front of me, because it's okay to have one junk drawer but not 15 of them. So the drawer I'm talking about, where you try to open it and you can't because there's so much shit in there. It's something popped up and you got to dig your hand in there and try to scoot it down so you can open the drawer to look for what you really.
Just cut the desk open from the top with a sawzall.
Okay, right. But what I do is, here's what I've been doing while I'm cleaning the oven, while I'm taking things out of the pantry and putting and doing all that. So everything that every time I do get to a project that I've been putting off for years, in most cases, I commit to myself that the entire time I turn my phone off. I tell Brian, don't interrupt me unless it's an emergency, if you don't mind, while I'm doing this, until I come back out to wherever he's at. And while I'm inside of that experience, first thing I do is look for the flip side of the coin. What else in my life was I putting off, like you, Pantry? And I look for things that aren't external. I look for things that are internal while I'm processing and cleaning or doing whatever with the external. And I have found some things, like you said, like the book. I found a couple of those things that I was like, oh yeah, how come I haven't? And then I go and I try to find where I started it, where I filed it, where is that folder that I put the beginnings in 8 years ago, or however long it was. So what have you found out about yourself? Like, for instance, let's use the book as an example. What have you found out about yourself? What have you learned about yourself as to why it's so easy now? Because, just because we're on quarantine, there's still people not getting shit done at all. Not the pantry, not the oven. There are still people that, I don't know if they're hooked on television or what, but there's still people who aren't doing. See, that's why we're called human beings, but we should really be called human doings, because being means you can just sit here. I am, I'm being.
Well, that's the thing, is like what you said. Remember, the very first time me and you ever spoke on the phone, remember the story that I told you about the fact that we're made up majority of water. So
Oh yeah.
we attempt to take the path of least resistance because that's what water naturally does. But for people, that path is not the best path because just like that water, when we stop moving, we create a dam around ourselves. We barricade ourselves in. We become stagnant,
I
and
love this analogy. I love
yeah,
this story. I've stolen it from you many times, by the way, without you knowing it, and used it
that's good.
with kids because it's really great. Talk about that, the stagnant, and then what it takes to clear it up, and how fast
Yeah.
it starts healing
So
itself.
so if you
I need
ever
to
if you anybody
unhook
that's
my
ever
ear.
been around a murky pond or anywhere where there's water that can't move, you'll notice that over time it becomes stagnant and it becomes black, it becomes murky, it becomes full of disease, nasty things like nepidae, water scorpions, gar, these different things, nasty things you want to stay away from.
Right,
And then it even creates a smell that you don't want, that no one wants to be around. If you
right.
drink it, it will bring death. But what's cool is the exact same water that would bring death, if you once it breaks through one of those barriers, no matter what direction that is, and it begins carving a new path, within a short period of time, that water that brought death begins to bring life. That thing that no one wanted to be around all of a sudden begins to attract people. People travel from all over the world to see running water. They love the sound of running water.
Mm-hmm.
People are attracted to it. So this is the same thing with people. Like, we're made up majority of water, so we attempt to take the path of least resistance, but it leads to the stagnancy, the same as that water. And with us, I mean, I believe this COVID deal, for some people it's creating those barriers, but I honestly believe that barriers are only created so long as you allow them to be created.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss, how do you say her first name?
Tea leaves.
Oh, Tea Leaf. That's
Tea
really
leaves
nice. That's
Parker. I
cool.
know, huh?
That's cool.
She sounds like she would have been one of Blossom's friends. Remember that show Blossom?
Yeah. So she said, what is Tucker's motivation to stay on track and keep going towards his goal?
Right.
That's a good question. So, I mean, what my motivation is, I mean, I guess this story is my motivation. Honestly, is because if you don't keep going, you will become stagnant. If you
Mm-hmm.
sit in one spot, you become sick. I mean, when here's they oftentimes depression and anxiety will derive directly from waking up outside of a purpose. So if you wake up each day, someone who's ever slept on a couch without a job, but your friend has a job, knows how this feels. And that is that you wake up each day and it's like your friend's going to work, this person's going to work, they have these different things they're working on, and you just woke up another day and you're like, oh Lord, here we go again.
Right.
And that's where depression comes from. And I think my motivation is that I used to be so depressed that I was suicidal, and it's not fun. So
Nope.
I stay in motion, and I know that the more I stay in motion, the more people I'm going to impact, and therefore the higher the chances are of me being able to create generational change. Like yesterday, I went back to going live on a normal basis, and then I got to quickly see the ripple effect of that. So yesterday I did another Tucker's Morning Motivation, and I had someone reach out to me, and it's this man. His name is Isaac Day, and he is running a deal where he takes troubled youth,
Mm-hmm.
like kids from Chicago, and that he brings them into his home, trains them in like how to be an NFL superstar, feeds them, houses them, and everything. And through doing my show, I was able to sponsor two kids to go into that program for 2 more weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And because these two kids, they were going to go back to somewhere where they didn't even have food or family. And now, like, it was really cool just because we were going live and impacting people, inspiring people. Like, we were contacted by Isaac, and now these kids, and I mean, it costs a lot of money for these kids. it's crazy. Like it just these two kids is it's $300 and something every 3 days in just food
Right.
to take care of these kids. And
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is. And I just saw a special the other day about homeless kids during the pandemic. And I mean, I saw some little kids. When people think of homeless kids, they think, I don't know what they think, but a lot of us, I think it's easier for people to imagine self-sufficient, like teenagers, older teenagers even. But no, I mean, I saw 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds like that. And it was just, but with my story of the system, it's not surprising, but it just never feels right. So yeah, hats off to that. Now, I want to put some stats out there and talk about something. Okay. Tea leaves. You actually reminded me that I wanted to say this today with your name. So loving the name Tea Leaves. Leaf. Remember that. Leaf. So as of this morning, the U.S. death toll approaches 80,000. And new symptoms are beginning to appear. It's not just the ones that we've been looking at. Yes, there's a leaf, but also new ones. But of course, so do we start panicking all over again every time the news brings out something new? No, we don't. Faith and truth are the only things that never change in the universe, ever. Your faith can, but faith is you can change, but it won't. It's always right there waiting. The truth will never change. And so the reason I say that is because as all the things around us change that we have no control of, if you just remember the thing you do always have control of, that one constant that will never change and will never change on you, which is the truth, you're going to be okay. So 4 million confirmed cases worldwide as of this morning. More than 1 million Americans have contracted the virus, resulting in 282,309 deaths worldwide. 79,552 in the U.S. So now that number, 79,552. This is what I want to say. If you're going to listen to these numbers, which we do, we have to, and it is, we all go, what's it up to now? Whether it's in your community, your county, your state, your country, the world, everyone's kind of watching the numbers in the back of your mind, right? But here's what I do. And it's because I was told to by what is greater than me, so that I don't get it twisted. 79,000, it's easy to just go, okay, 79,000 people. Those are 79,000 lives. Those are 79,000 souls. So if you think you know what that number really looks like, I look out my window and I know that if I were to go out there and take all the leaves, every leaf off of a tree, which I could do, might take me a couple days, but I could sit there and I could pluck every leaf off of the tree right here that I'm looking at. And I could count each one as I put it in a bag. I'm not going to reach 79,000 from this one tree. And when I look at that tree and I look at all those leaves and I say, what if those are bodies lined up in my yard? There wouldn't be enough room.
Well, think about you and I, we are fancy to events, and I mean we're used to speaking in front of 500 to 2,500 people, and just imagine that right there gives you a visual of, okay, this is what just 500 people looks
like.
An
entire school of kids, 15 times over, 30 times, 40 times, 50 times over. And the thing about it is here's how I can't do anything about the casualties. But what I can do is remind myself and the people closest to me that we have an obligation. We have, there's a need. There is a need that we live each day as if it were our last. Because one day we will be right. We're going to be right. And so, is it really what you want if you're just sitting on the couch binging on Netflix? What can you be doing? Just because I believe that even though I have found personally, I don't know, Tucker, you talk about this. I have found that since I have been quote unquote restricted, locked down, as some people are saying it, it has freed up many more areas of my life that were just stagnant, like you said, just sitting there, that I'll get to it eventually, this, that, and the other. You know why? Because every time, okay, last weekend it was the cleaning of the pantry, but every time I've opened that door to that pantry since I did it, it brings me joy. I feel good about myself. I feel good. I don't feel like, oh, look at that mess. I'll get to it eventually. That guilt that was coming every time I went to reach for something in there, because a little bit of something will get in and poison everything if you let it, whether you realize it or not. I'm ringing the bell.
That's
So,
true. And I tell you a way that people can be more productive if you're having trouble getting things done. I guess here's a few tips. I know that Sarah and I are doing this. And she got to see it for the first time the other day, and that is working off of a list. I know it seems really simple, but our brains are actually wired to work on off of lists and things of that nature. So what we did was we got a notepad, and you draw a little square, and then you write something you need to do that day. And here's the thing: don't think too much into it. Even if it's make a cup of coffee, make your bed, brush your teeth,
ooh, Lord.
sweep the floor. Any of whatever little bitty thing you do, you mark it on this list of things you need to do that day, and then as you get things done, take put a check next to that. Now, I know that may not seem like a big deal,
Oh, it is.
but once you do it, you'll realize how powerful it is. In one day, Sarah and I combined completed 53 tasks that needed to be done in the house, and we still had time left over for the day. Because when you check things off of a list, your brain releases a chemical known as dopamine and serotonin. So dopamine is a reward chemical, and serotonin is the chemical in your brain that makes you feel happy. It makes you want to smile and laugh. So whenever when you check something off of a list, you flood the brain with dopamine, the reward chemical, and your brain goes, ooh, I like that. I want to feel that again. And it stimulates you to want to accomplish more. And then as you're accomplishing things, you're adding things to the list because you realize other things need to get done. And productivity becomes an addiction at that point. It's almost like gamification, gamifying your daily tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice that your thoughts and not only your productivity, but your thoughts will begin to come in line, because then your brain, when it realizes what's called the reticular activating system in the brain, whenever it realizes that, okay, productivity is something that this person is focusing on right now. Mm-hmm. How can I find something else to continue this, be more productive? Because your brain is an addict. It can be addicted to cortisol, which is the stress hormone. That's what people that are addicted to drama. That's why they get addicted to drama, get addicted to watching the news, things of that nature, because they get addicted to cortisol, which is the opposite of dopamine. And then you have people who get addicted to dopamine, and your brain is like, ooh, that feels good. I want more of it, more of it, more of it. And in order to obtain it, you have to accomplish something. So write you're not only writing your goals down. People say write your goals down. That's huge. That's important. But your daily tasks, just try it for one day. Write down every single thing that you're going to do that day. And here's the thing: when you start your list, it may only have 10 things on it. But an hour once you've been in it an hour, it's going to end up having 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and you'll accomplish it all for the most part.
It is true. It is true. And see, here's the deal too. This is an opportunity, this quarantine and everything. I think a lot of people are coming to the realization they're finding out something new about themselves. And that primary newness is embodied in the fact that many of us don't know or are uncomfortable spending quality time with ourselves. A lot of people don't know how to do that. They just have to be going. It's like this. Did you remember in high school, there was always that guy or girl that could never be without a boyfriend or a girlfriend? They break up at 10 o'clock in the morning. By 11:15, they're in another relationship. Walking down how you know what I'm saying?
And that was before Tinder.
Right. They just always have to be with somebody. They are afraid to be alone. And that is a real condition. There are people who freak out if someone is going to leave them. And so I think this is an opportunity to learn about ourselves. And if you don't start occupying the mind with positivity, and I think the key is exactly what you said earlier, Tucker, it's movement. It's always been movement. If you look at meet a person, I used to go up and ask randomly people in my gym, old men in my gym, that in my health club that would be, doing these things that you look at them, you go, there ain't no way that old guy should be able to do that. And I'd ask him, how are you able to do that? How old are you? I'm 93. Honestly, this is a true story. And he's bench pressing with his legs crossed up, like his knees are bent and his legs are crossed, and he's bench pressing and he's doing all these things. And I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 93. I'm like, get out of here. And his buddy was there who was 80 something. And he kept saying, ask the kid. And meaning the 80-year-old guy. And I asked both of them, I said, what's your secret? He goes, easy. I've always, since I was 21 years old, I did the 3 same basic warm-up exercises, stretching, three. Took me less than 30 minutes every day, but I've done them every day. He says the key to growing old in quality style is movement. Keep moving. And so I know there's truth in that. And here, Tea Leaf says, spiritually, here's a nice segue. Thank you, Tea Leaves. Spiritually, this pandemic is teaching us to learn to love ourselves, learn to be alone, and learn to change.
Yes.
Let's talk about that one. Good one, Tea Leaves. Let's talk about change and learning to change, because a lot of people think it's just, I don't know what a lot of people think. I know personally, I used to think that change meant, I don't know what I thought it meant. Most of the time, I thought it meant giving up everything that I liked. I didn't want to change, but I needed to. And there's a difference between what you want and what you need. So let's talk about that. How do you guys feel about learning to change? Thank you, Tea Leaf. I love that. Tucker, what do you feel about learning to change?
I think it's paramount, honestly, because what happens whenever, it's like we talked about that water earlier, it creates a barrier. And being an Aspie, it's like I can speak volumes to this topic because anybody that is on the spectrum we're known for not liking change. I'm one of those people that I still have my episodes when some things change. Like I rock back and forth and I do my hands like this and everything, and it's like it becomes a overstimulation. But what I've learned over the years is that boredom is a lack of appreciation for life, and change it's exciting because when we fail to embrace change, we are embracing stagnancy. And we everything, you get into a pattern, and nothing is more depressing than knowing exactly what's going to happen every day.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I do want to say, and while we're talking about change and a great topic, Tea Leaves, is that it's exactly what it's synonymous to the term new normal. New normal it means that it's changed. Things are changing. It's not, because normal is predictable. That's what normal really means.
It's boring.
It's boring. So let's talk about change and the new normal. What kind of things, let's talk about what type of things a person can reach for to allow them, what's the word I'm looking for? The confidence, the confidence. It doesn't need to be fear-based. It needs to be faith-based. And so how do we change without, questioning it? Because that's the thing. Change isn't that difficult. It's not questioning it that's difficult for a lot of people.
I have an answer.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's going to sound kind of woo-woo, but you got to think deeper than the statement. Try to see the world through the eyes of a blind man that was given sight for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do that. Whenever, think about it. So if you were never able to see before, and you were suddenly given sight, a blade of grass would be just as astonishing as a Picasso.
Sure would.
And if you can see the world through the eyes of a child, a child or a dog, think about it. They truly, genuinely live in the moment. Normal is a drier setting. That's funny.
I love this girl.
Yeah, she's cool. I like her. I like her glasses too. They make I don't know if her glasses are on LSD, but
right,
they should be.
She also says change has such a bad name connected to it, and it doesn't have to be bad or overwhelming. Change is beautiful when you embrace it. I totally agree. I
Hey,
totally
I
agree.
don't know about you, but I know what it's like to be homeless and hungry, and I know what it's like to need enough change to get a McChicken. So, um, yeah, change is okay for me.
Any changes? Have you, let's hear this. Let's each put a change out there. You can go first. What's the greatest change you've experienced in your world, Tucker, since the onslaught of COVID-19?
I think it's more of a fight. I don't know how to explain this really. I'm not sure how to put it in words, but more of a fight to get back to nature. I come from literally the woods. I was born and raised. I was raised deep in the woods. I love it in the woods. I used to have a sign on my door that said, "The more I see of people, the better I like my horses." So it's like and I find myself like I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I was sitting in the yard looking at the woods, and it's like here is the forest, and then out here is all this city, and then I mowed the yard, and there was an edge, the edge where you mowed next to the forest, and I sat there thinking, I was like, wow, I feel like the old wise man that's sitting in the woods trying to get away from the city, and everybody wants the answer, so they keep coming out of the city and stepping into the woods. But every day it seems like that mowing line gets closer and closer, and the city just takes over more and more and more and more and more. And it's like so for me, I feel like it's been more of a process of going back to that, going back, because I love spending my time around creeks and things of that nature. It's where I'm most
Don't you
inspired.
mean crick?
No, I do not say crick. I don't know where that comes from, and it's I don't know. I think it's a Louisiana thing. I'm not really sure.
Nothing. We'll have to ask Misty Lane. That's where she's from.
Yeah.
Really quickly, you guys, for those of you who have come in since the top of the hour, please excuse my rudeness and in acknowledging you. I thank all of you for coming in and joining us. Christopher Kaysen, it's so nice to see you again. I just saw you Saturday, but it's nice to see you again. And I wanted to remind you guys that we are streaming live across Facebook, YouTube, Roku, Android, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, and of course, from our home base out in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's E360 TV Live. And good morning, top of the week to our sponsor for the week, which is the wonderful people, Troy Rocks and his group over at symposium.us, where you can turn your content into currency. Get over and download the app today on Google Play or the Google Store, the App Store rather, and start seeing the many opportunities that are available. Now is the time to increase your income streams. Trust me, real talk with this thing going on. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Get over like Chef Carson from Top Chef Junior did this weekend, and he showed numerous kids. He had a great showing this weekend, showing kids how to create a wonderful tomato tart to surprise their moms for Mother's Day. That's symposium.us. So get over and check it out. So, let's talk about really quick, changing up as we come to the last 10 minutes of the interview. The time has flown by. What can we do? We're wearing our masks, we're washing our hands, we're wearing our gloves, we're social distancing, we're sheltering in place. We're doing all those things that are directly in alignment with staying safe physically and caring for ourselves, self-care physically. But what are some of the things you feel, I'll throw a couple out after you, and you start kicking it off. What are some of the things you feel are good for people to do? Some people meditate, but that's not for everyone. Some people have started reading or starting little book clubs with each other. What are some of the things you're doing to just keep your head on straight in these what could very easily be a crazy go nuts time? What are you doing personally yourself that you feel is really helping keep you centered and grounded here?
So my thing has been stepping back into nature, because like when I was a kid, I used to wake up when the sun came up. I'd walk into the woods, and I wouldn't come out until the sun went down, and sometimes I didn't come out till the next day. It's where I am at peace. And I noticed during this Corona thing that like I didn't realize how far away from my happy place, my peace, that I had gotten, because I was in that rat race, that ruckus, trying to make sales, trying to build a business, and we get so stuck in that that we often forget our happy place. And just because just because all this going on becomes normal doesn't mean that you should step away from the place in your mind, that place that you go where you're at peace. I mean, you have to learn to get back to that, because if all you're doing is devoting your time to trying to make a dollar, trying to put food on the table, obviously it has to be done. You have to put food on the table and you have to work, but your sanity,
Amen,
will come at a cost.
sure will.
And you need to learn that. And so for me, that's what I've been doing, and that's what I say that everybody should do right now is take advantage of this and get back to your happy place. And by the way, this thing with the masks and gloves and everything, just a quick tip for you, just in case you this might help you save a little bit of money. I know I've seen people who wear masks in their vehicle, and just so you know, when it comes to a virus, the molecules that it's made out of are so small that no mask you put on, period, will ever stop it going through. The mask cannot stop.
You wouldn't be able to breathe if the only way you right.
Yeah. So the reason that you're supposed to wear masks is to prevent you from touching your face. Like that's it's for it has no, it doesn't stop other people from giving it to you. It stops you from giving it to yourself. That's what masks are for. And I see people who go through a mask every day because they're wearing it all day every day. And when you wear a mask all day every day, you actually create an incubator for the virus right next to your mouth and your nose. So that it's ridiculous. Just
okay. I want to say here that what was I going to say here? I forgot. The happy place thing. Find your happy place. I'm going to ride on that one. I'm going to just attach my wagon to that same premise because that's really what it is. Joy is a healing balm in Gilead. It really is. Joy is a healing balm. But you know what? Even a healing balm can't work if you're applying it on top of the Band-Aid. So what I'm saying is, and that means denial is a Band-Aid. Pretending something doesn't exist is a Band-Aid. Peel it off and let the wound, because we're all hurting in our own way. Let the wound get some air. Put the balm on it, which is your faith, which is joy, which is all those things that are good. And you only find, you find it in your happy place. It's just like when we're kids and we're playing tag. You have that safe, that home base, home or whatever, when you got to get to that pole and when you touch it, they can't get you. That's your happy place. Find your way to it. Many of us have lost our way. Our GPS isn't on. It's not connected. It's buffering because we haven't typed in the coordinates of happy place in a long, long time because we've been so busy trying to be happy when it's always been waiting right there for us. So I want you to think about that. And I want to say this. As far as your happy place, remember this. I told you this before we went live, Tucker, about the masks, you guys. Right now, we're going to wear them. We're going to have to until we don't. So as long as we have to, consider thriving behind the mask. Make sure that you get up every day committed to thriving behind the mask and not hiding behind that mask. Big difference, big difference. And I love this one. I'm going to take it for myself and write it down and stick it somewhere to remind myself to find my happy place. So Jerry Springer time. What's your final thought there, Tucker, for people about how they should look at who they will be on the other side, because you're creating that person. Now, I don't want to open my front door to my spiritual world and find that I've been filling pods filled with PTSD during this. So finding my happy place helps empty out. I don't want to hoard PTSD. I don't. So what's your number one suggestion to people on making sure they come out of this a better version of themselves?
I think that it's the way to do that is don't take strides and leaps to make changes in your life and to improve yourself or your process. I think that you should take small steps. Change one thing a day, especially during this COVID deal, because you can get into that stagnancy. You can keep Oh yeah, Tony Rodriguez is right. If you are sick, a
Right.
mask prevents you from spreading it. So he is right about that. But my point is that oh what crap! That threw me off. What was
senior
my final?
moment? Get used to it. There's
So
more
anyway,
down the road. Trust me.
So change little bitty things in your life. Like for instance, get up on a different side of your bed, and it helps to write these things down. Like what is something you can do?
I don't think my husband would appreciate me crawling over him to get out the other side of the bed.
Maybe not, but change something in each and every day.
Change the air in the tank.
It'll prevent stagnancy. It'll prevent quote unquote boredom, because your brain, if you constantly change something, the reticular activating system in your brain will cause you to try to find more things to change.
And I'm not one of those. Y'all already know, and I'm gonna warn you too about using words with more than 5 letters in it on my show. That's your first and only warning. Reticular, whatever that was. Listen, I tell people that all the time. Look, public school education here. Let's just keep it basic.
Keep it real simple. Reticular is, if you've ever drove a car, you'll see the car everywhere. That's your reticular activating system.
Well, let's just know this. Change the air in the tank. If you need something to do, change the living room furniture around. Go in and move your cabinets around. I did the refrigerator and the freezer. Got all that crap out of there that I couldn't even recognize it. Stuff that's been in there inside things. I'll use this one day. No, I wouldn't. Whatever it is, change something.
And out with good.
FIFO, first in, first out. If you got something you're not using, get rid of it. There are only so many seats at the table of life. Mm-hmm. If you have it occupied with things that are stagnant, how in the hell is anything new and productive going to come in? Because you know what? Great blessings that are new did not come to your dance to be a wallflower. They came to do the electric shuffle. So make sure there's room on the dance floor. So listen, with that note, we're going to say goodbye. Listen, you guys, join me tomorrow. Light worker Jade Phoenix, she used to show up here once a month. And then she said her angels told her to sit her ass down for a couple months because they had work to do on her. And she's back. We're going to hear all about that and what she feels is going on and what she's hearing from the spaces beyond tomorrow.